A toad does not run in a broad daylight for the fun of it. Son of the soil, what brings you to my house today? Eze's anxiety grew in tons as he recounts the encounter he had with his brother. In a small village named Aloma, there lived a man named Eze, a wealthy and generous man with a heart of gold, loved and respected by his people because he is kind-hearted and generous. He has an older brother by name Ejike. Ejike never loved him the way he did, as he was always envious of his progress and fame. He never reciprocated Eze's love for him, as he was always looking for every means to bring him down. Being the lazy type, Ejike spends quality time drinking and enjoying himself at the bar every other day. A day came, Eze requested to have a meeting with him to know how he could help out and set him up in business. Even though Ejike squandered the money he gave him in the past. Their meeting did not yield positive results as it ended in shouting and quarrels. Ejike fled up because he felt his younger brother, Eze, shouldn't be advising him on how he spends money. Eze, being the humble type, begged and begged, but Ejike was shouting on top his voice. How much do you think you have? You think you have arrived, Abi? Eze kept begging. It took the intervention of family members for Ejike to be calm. But inside of him, he knew his younger brother never insulted or talked down on him. His ego would not let him accept the truth about his wayward life, as he was trying to cover up the huge amount of money he squandered in the past. When the dust settled, he walked away, and that was how a meeting that was intended to empower him to start a business ended. As days rolled by, then came some poor villagers seeking for help and money to feed their families. Eze, being the magnanimous type that loves giving, handed each of them swollen envelopes containing huge sum of money. They were overjoyed and full of praise. Eze advised them not to always depend on him for fish, but to come up with business plans that could enable them fish on their own. He also requested to know if some of them will be willing to work in his farm plantations. A few days passed. The villagers gathered at Eze's house. Some came with their business plan, while some accepted to work in his farm. He expressed his happiness to see them and gave them a warmly welcome. He collected their business plans and promised to get back to them in a week's time after reviewing them. And so those willing to work with him, he employed them. They left happily, hopeful for the future. The next day, Eze went to his older brother Ejike, greeted him. Good morning, day Ejike, but he responded coldly. Not minding his indifferences, Eze reminded him about their last discussion. He asked to know if he had come up with any business plan. Ejike did not budge. Eze now opened up to him on his plans of settling down and raising his own family. He busted into what seemed to be a mockery laugh. His response shocked Eze. You will never in your miserable life get married before me. Not in this life and never in another life. So surprised and downcast, queried the reason behind Ejike's callous behavior towards him. Embittered as he was, he left his presence. He couldn't wrap his hands on what transpired between him and his older brother. The next day, he decided to meet with the village head to unravel what seemed like a mystery to him. It was a bright sunny day that looked promising. He made his way to the village head's home. Luckily for him, he met him sitting calmly as though he was expecting him. He was warmly received. Eze greeted him and they exchanged pleasantries in their local parlance, and he handed him the gift he brought alongside. The village head was so pleased by Eze's cheerfulness and ushered him to sit. A toad does not run in a broad daylight for the fun of it. Son of the soil, what brings you to my house today? Eze's anxiety grew in tons as he recounts the encounter he had with his brother. He poured out his worries about the village custom regarding marriage between brothers. His fears were, however, confirmed by the village head, who took time to explain the age-long tradition. He told him that a younger person cannot marry before the older ones, that it has been like that even before he was born. He went on to explain another twist to it. He told him that it can, however, be sorted out on mutual agreement. That is, if the older brother is not prepared for marriage, that he can give his consent for the younger one to marry, but that this mutual agreement must be made known to the entire village. Eze was so happy, knowing that all hope was not lost after all. He thanked the village head profusely for his time and headed home being satisfied. When he got home that day, thought of how best to approach Ejike kept racing through his mind. He, however, summoned courage and made his way to his room, where he was resting, and greeted him. For the very first time, Eze was explicit about his intention to marry. He then appealed to his older brother to take the bold step first, promising to support him. But Ejike, being egoistic type, rebuffed immediately. Listen, my friend, you will not pressure me to marry. I will do so when I am ready, and I don't want this discussion to continue. But Eze was not done yet. He said, then I need your consent to go ahead with my plans. Ejike looked at him sarcastically and said, then you will have to part with huge sum of money if that's what you want. Eze poised to see he settles the matter once and for all. Accepted to pay the money, but thought of his promise of fun to the villagers crept in. But he had already agreed terms with his brother and was not ready to back down. Time rode by and the whole village was all agog. The village head was first intimated about the new development, to which he was happy to hear. A week later, the two brothers and few family members were summoned by the village head. Ejike was asked if he wholeheartedly consents to his younger brother's wish, and he agreed. Eze was now told to hand him over the money in the full glare of everyone present. He did, and they both embraced each other, and everyone left afterwards. Eze embarked on a business trip to a nearby village called Edim. He bid farewell to his brother Ejike, entrusting him with his workers and business. However, their journey was interrupted when their vehicle was ambushed by unknown men. Some passengers were killed, others injured, and Eze, along with some, was taken captive. Blindfolded and bound, they were brought to a deep forest and held in a wide hall. Despite their cries and pleas, the unknown men kept them under strict control, providing minimal food and water. The captors demanded ransom for release, but Eze remained captive, sparkling questions about his wealth and inability to pay. Meanwhile, back in Aloma village, concern grew as Eze failed to return, while the villagers worried and prayed for his safety. Ejike showed little concern, indulging in festivities with friends. The village head organized search parties, but they found no trace of Eze. The villagers mourned his absence, except for Ejike, who seemed happy with the prospect of inheriting Eze's belongings. As time passed without news of Eze, suspicions arose, with some wondering if Ejike had a hand in his disappearance. Despite the doubt, the villagers remained hopeful for Eze's return, praying fervently for his safety. Months went by, and with no sign of Eze, the village head gathered everyone to discuss honoring Eze's memory. Despite Ejike's objection, the villagers decided to rename the village Eze Oma in tribute to his generosity and kindness. The village head expressed disappointment in Ejike's lack of love for his brother and praised Eze's contribution to the community. Meanwhile, Eze never lost faith, praying for deliverance. Eventually, one of the captors took pity on him and helped him escape, bringing an end to his ordeal. Eze woke up beside a beautiful lady named Egoma, who saved him and brought him to their home. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Okafor, requested to meet with Eze. Eze explained his ordeal in the hands of his captors. Mr. and Mrs. Okafor were kind and welcomed him to their home. They requested he stays till he is mentally and physically fit to go back to his village. Eze was excited, thankful, and promised never to disappoint them. Eze worked hard and few months later married Egoma, making everyone happy. Months later, they had twin boys, bringing even more joy. Eze's in-laws decided it was time for him to return to his village. Few weeks later, they traveled to Eze's village. Eze found out the village was named after him to honor him. Everyone was surprised and happy to see Eze alive. Even his brother Ejike, who had been jealous, begged for forgiveness. Eze forgave him, and they all celebrated their newfound happiness. Eze thanked everyone for their love, especially Egoma, whose love had brought them together. And so, Eze's journey ended happily ever after. Thanks for watching this amazing video on Folktales by Adora. If you like it, please don't forget to like, comment, and share. Also subscribe if you haven't, and turn on post notification to be notified whenever we post new video. See you in the next one.